How's it going, everybody? We are back. Severance Season 2, Episode 4. The any team, went on an Ortbo, an outdoor retreat team building occurrence. The most corporate kind of outdoor hangout name you could absolutely come up with. But I love this episode. This episode was fantastic. It focused more on the innies. We got to delve more into that Egan lore. The two things I love about Severance, the reason why I liked Severance Season 1 was here in this episode, except we're in a completely different setting. We're in the middle of a forest. The Dichen National Forest, I think was what it was called. I talked about this in my last episode. What I like about Severance is that shared experience, that shared innie experience where you are going through it with the innie. So it's like you're looking through a little tube. You don't know much, right? The innies don't know much. And so every single crack, every single clue and reveal is so much more intense. You're seeing more and more of the picture. But as soon as you step out of that, looking through that tube, and you see the entire world around you, the magic is kind of gone, right? And that was kind of the step we were taking with the previous episode by seeing the world from a different angle. But now we're back in that innie perspective, for me, it really helps with the immersion, and it really helps build intrigue. This episode is where things really go down. There's a lot to talk about, so let's dive in. Dylan, Mark, Helly, and Irving wake up in the middle of Dichen National Forest, and they're on this experience. They have Milchek on a little monitor explaining what's going on. They're on this 2-day experience. Are they dreaming? Is this actually real? They haven't seen the sky before, so their minds are kind of blown. Like, what is going on right now? They got a map that looks like it came straight out of Dora the Explorer, and they're supposed to go to Scissor Cave, follow the footsteps of Kier and we just found out his twin brother Dieter, and they're being directed by twins of themselves, kind of like how Dieter and Kier are twins, and the twins of themselves seem kind of odd. They're pointing in the direction they're supposed to go, but they're standing in kind of odd ways. It just seems off. And honestly, when we first saw Season 2, Episode 1, and you see a figure standing behind the corner looking at Mark, that might be one of the new coworkers, but I immediately thought, like, hey, that kind of looks like Mark. So are these twins? If they're even real, if this is even real, are they on the severed floor too? Like, what is Lumon doing? Are they creating clones? Is that what's going on here? And like are the clones or the twins tamed versions of the innie self? Like something to do with the tempers? Or I have no clue. Honestly, I wouldn't want it. What Lumon's doing, I wouldn't want it to be clone related. I feel like that's too on the nose with the sci-fi. I don't think I want it to be clones. But anyways, so their twins are pointing them in the direction they need to go on this little expedition, on this adventure, on this experience. And it's honestly cool, dude. Like, this is their first time outside, and they're hardcore, like, hiking through the forest. And they stumble across a dead seal. And Irving is like, hey, we need to eat this, because we don't know when we're going to get food and everything. He's kind of paranoid, okay? He has no clue where he is. He just lost Bert. His emotions are high. And on top of that, he doesn't trust Helly. We know this from before, right? Because she's talking about the night gardener. What kind of gardener comes out at night except for Samwise Gamgee, okay? Nobody else gardens at night. So he saw Helly and Mark S. talking by themselves. So first off, he's missing Bert. So he's kind of jealous of that experience. He doesn't get to do it. He's seeing them do it. Then on top of that, he doesn't trust Helly. So it's like, it's coming from two ways. This is making him uncomfortable. So, and on top of that, dude, Mark S. and Helly R, we now know that's not Helly R, but they're busy giggling like they're middle schoolers on a field trip. And that obviously would annoy someone like Irving. So they're making their way through this thing, and Irving is kind of pushing up against Helly, figuratively, like, hey, I know there's something going on. What did you mean by this night gardener? Where were you when you went outside? Why aren't you not telling us what's going on? He's not holding back anymore. He's irritated. He's not in a good mood. He's not holding back. He's not being nice about it. Okay, he wants to know what's going on, and Helly is immediately avoiding it. She's not acting like Helly are. So your suspicion is clearly building and building, right? It's been rumored that it's not Heliar, it's Helena. And they make their way to Scissor Cave and they find this book with a 4 imprinted on it. I'm guessing it's the 4th temper, woe. And crazy enough, Irving is experiencing woe on this journey. But we'll get to that in a bit. So they're reading this book. It's from Kier's perspective. He's talking about him and his brother. His brother Dieter wanted to live like the life of a pauper, go out in the forest, and and Kier listened and followed him. And Dieter started doing some weird stuff, man, out in the forest, and Kier had to listen. I'm not gonna get into the details, but it resulted in Dieter's pretty much him melting into the forest. His head turned into mold and or moss or whatever, and melted off. He got pus coming out of his eye, and Kier had to witness this, had to hear what was going on and see all this. And I mean, you're experiencing grief in that moment. You're experiencing woe, right? So he's taming woe, I guess you could say, in this situation. Now, did that actually happen? I don't think so. I think it's just figurative, symbolic language. And so they're sitting around this fire talking about this. And Helly and Mark S are giggling like I said, little middle schoolers on a field trip. They're with the googly eyes. They're like little boyfriend, girlfriend. First time going out on the field trip together. They got to sit next to each other. They're busy giggling. And Milchek is like, yeah, you guys are being irreverent. No marshmallows for you. Toss it into the fire. You can't get it. And Irving is again annoyed. Like he's seeing them two being all lovey-dovey, and he's missing Bert. And so he presses Helly again. Mark S immediately jumps to her defense. Dylan pops himself into the equation as well. And so now Irving feels like everybody's pouncing onto him. And that's where Helly's true colors immediately shine. She's like, hey, he's just mad that he can't see Bert anymore. He's just lonely. Dude, that's so cruel. That's one thing Helly would not say. And Irving immediately picked up on that. He got up and he left. But see, here's the thing that they do so well with the show. When Helly came back, okay, she hasn't been acting the same. She's been acting off. The way she's reacting, the way her facial expressions are, it hasn't been the same as Helly R. Helly R is usually the life of the show. This Helly is kind of taking the backseat. She hasn't talked as much. Her reactions haven't been the same, But every once in a while, she does kind of act like Helly. But we got to remember that Helena is looking at security footage, which is why immediately when they come back, Helly looks and notices in the room, hey, the security camera's not gone, because Helena has been looking at the footage, so she would notice that. So Irving leaves, okay? And Mark S and Helly R make their way to the same tent for obvious reasons. And Helly expresses she feels bad. Like, dang, that was kind of mean. So, there's this back and forth. Like, you're acting like Helena one bit, and then you're showing remorse for what you did. So are you Helly or what? What's going on here? So they're busy, doing their thing in the tent. I don't know if anybody's hearing it on the outside, but they're busy doing their thing. And so you have this dichotomy of the experience that Mark S and Helena are having in the tent, in a nice warm tent. They're together while Irving is experiencing woe. He's outside in the cold. They're sleeping on pillows. He's sleeping on a rock, right? So you have this reddish color grading in the tent, and you have this bluish, coldish color grading with Irving by himself. And he goes to sleep, and then he's in his dream. He sees their cubicles or their little workspace. And that's his only home, That's all he knows. So he goes there. He sits down, and the barrier drops. And it's Bert there sitting. He can't have that, man. He can't. He's missing Bert. And then you see woe sitting there, that little half-sized lady who looks like she should be in The Ring or something. It looks like she came straight out of a horror movie, sitting there. So Irving is experiencing woe in this moment, and he immediately wakes up. He knows something is up. Okay. In the meantime, Mark S and Dylan come out of their tents. It's morning now. Helly R is missing. And they're trying to find, and Irving hasn't come back. So what's going on? So they start calling out for Helly and Irving, trying to find out where these two are. In the meantime, Helly and Irving meet up. They find each other. And Irving starts pressing Helly again. Helly was never that cruel. Who are you? He knows, dude. He knows at this point. Who are you? Helly would never say that. What's going on here? Tell me who you are. Who is the night gardener? What did you see when you were outside? And he literally grabs Helly because he knows it's not Helly. There's something happening here. He grabs her and then pushes her under the water, under this freezing cold water. You have Milchick and everybody up there like looking down, and they're screaming, and he's screaming, and Irving is like, she's not Helly. This is not Helly, and he's putting the pieces together. He knows she has to be someone of importance. How else are you going to get your Audi down onto the severed floor? She has to be important. And so he comes to the conclusion that Helly has to be an Egan. Honestly, dude, I mean, I know the guy's in the military. He has that kind of mind. He can probably put the pieces together. But how did he know that she was an Egan? Yes, she needed to be of some sort of significance in order to have the pull to get her Audi onto the severed floor. But could she have been something like a Miss Cobell? You know? Someone else that's maybe not an Egan that does have some sort of pull. But maybe an Egan is the first thing you're going to think of when it comes to Lumon and pull, okay? So maybe that's what it was. Actually, I think it's his dream. If you look at Irving's computer, it looks like the letters are spelling out Egan. So it's like his subconscious is telling him, hey, Helly's an Egan. So he's literally drowning Helena, screaming, she's an Egan, she's an Egan. Mark S. is freaking out over there. And that's where Helena says, Seth, do it. And Irving says, yeah, Seth, come on. And Mr. Milchick, apparently his first name is Seth, picks up the walkie-talkie and says, turn the Glasgow block off now, or something like that, right? And Helena switches back to Heliar. Irving picks her up, hugs her, and says, I'm so sorry. And Helly's freaking out, where am I? What the frick is going on here? Okay? And dude, that was such a good moment. That redemption for Irving was so good. Like, everybody was hounding on him in this whole episode, right? But then now, like, he made the call, and he was completely accurate. And you had Dylan up there standing, said, I'm sorry, Irv. I should have listened, and all that stuff, right? Like, that redemption for Irving was so good. He needed that. And then we got a scene that was pulled straight out of Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments. Cecil B. DeMille's 10 Commandments, all right? When Pharaoh is exiling Moses from Egypt, you had Mr. Milchick, a.k.a. Seth, acting like Pharaoh from the 10 Commandments. Funny enough, the Pharaoh was named Seti, spelled Sethi, okay? Pretty much exiling Irving.
Let the name of Moses be stricken from every book and tablet, stricken from all pylons and obelisks, stricken from every monument of Egypt. Let the name of Moses be unheard and unspoken, erased from the memory of men for all time.
And the reason why I'm saying the 10 Commandments is because I'm not entirely sure how historically accurate it is, because I don't think we know exactly which pharaoh was involved during the time of Moses. I mean, there are many people who do think that it was Seti. I mean, more accurately, his son, Ramesses II, who was the pharaoh during the time of the Exodus and all that stuff. But I thought that parallel was super cool with the name Sethi, Sethi. I mean, it's also spelled Seti or Sethos in the Greek. So I thought that was super cool. So Mr. Milchick, Seth, is exiling Irving from Lumon, pretty much saying, your name shall be stricken from all of history. It will be like you never existed, which is crazy. Because it's not just like, hey, we're firing. It's not just like Petey, you're fired, we're getting rid of you. They're going to wipe the memory of Irving from Lumon. None of his co-workers are going to remember him for what he did. And we know why Moses left Egypt. He committed murder. He killed an Egyptian. And in a way, Irving killed an Egyptian, a Lumon employee, an Egan on the severed floor. Because I'm pretty sure Helena's not coming back to the severed floor. That's it. So Irving gets exiled, and the episode ends with Milchick hitting that switch. Great episode. This episode was really good. I enjoyed this episode. It brought everything back to what I love about Severance, except it was outside. It wasn't in the office setting, but it was awesome. It was really good. And dude, Irving, I might be completely wrong with my Moses symbolism, but if it's anything to go off of, Moses came back and freed the slaves. Is Irving going to come back and somehow facilitate the freeing of his fellow innies? I don't know, dude. I hope so, because I don't want Irving to leave Severance. I really like him. He's a fantastic character. I really enjoy his character, honestly. He's really cool. But yeah, man, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What did you guys think about this episode? I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's my favorite episode of season 2. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.